day. Just an open prayer. Linda.
Yeah.
Can you just an open prayer, please? Please, can you just
okay.
Open prayer?
Let us pray.
Yeah, pray.
Let us pray. In Jesus' name, our mighty God and Father, I want to thank you for today, for your grace, for strength, even for this webinar we've come here for. We pray for wisdom. We pray, Lord, that you grant us and understanding as we listen. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you again. We are delighted to meet up with you this month. This is Women Academics in Construction Network. It is basically a capacity building network to support women in their journey as academics. And it's also a network for postgraduate students. So in this network, we have support such as networking, collaboration, and also training, like we are doing now in this webinar. So this idea came up in early this year. And since that time, we had several interesting and insightful webinars. And today, we also have another webinar, and the title, another interesting topic, which is getting published in high impact journals, the salient tips. And before I go on, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Patience Tunji-Olayeni. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Quantity Surveying. Sorry, in the Department of Building Technology. Sorry, that's because I'm a quantity surveyor. Sorry, I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Building, Covenant University, Nigeria. And I'm the convener of this webinar. I have other colleagues that work very closely with me in this. They are not really online right now. They'll join us in the course of the meeting, but we have Linda. Linda helps with logistics. She helps to ensure that everything goes well. And also joining us today is Oluwatosin, Dr. Oluwatosin.
Okay. So sorry about that. I think her network is bad. I don't know if you can all hear me. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, madam.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So just like she said, it is a capacity building webinar, and we've been having it for months now. We've been having it since May, monthly. And today we're going to have another wonderful session with our speaker today. Okay. And today's, she was introducing the conveners. We have Dr. Patience Tunji-Olayeni as one of the conveners of this webinar. We've also had, we also have other conveners that she's going to be introducing to you properly during the course of this webinar. But right now, today we're going to be listening to our speaker. Sorry, is she back on? Okay, no, we'll just continue. Right now, we're going to be listening to our speaker. We're going to be talking about publishing in high impact journals. We'll be looking at the Salient tips on publishing in high impact journals. But before we continue with today's webinar, I want us to talk about what we've learned. I don't know how many of you have been around for our previous webinars. I don't know how many of you have been around for our previous webinars. Oh, okay, your first day. Beautiful. I'm sure you have an exciting time. This is from Loretta Lipworth. So who has been here for our previous webinars? Welcome, Ma. Okay. Who has been around for a previous webinar? If you don't want to show your face, please drop a chat on the chat box. I'm reading them. It would be nice to know what we've picked from our previous webinar so that we would know we're not just doing it. It's making impact. Sorry. Okay, I'm still waiting. Who has been here for our previous webinars? Okay, for our previous webinars, we've been talking about, we had one on literature review. We had a webinar on soft skills, on building relationships, even as academics. And we had a very exciting time too. We had one last month, we had a webinar on the role of gender in urbanization, and we had a wonderful time too. So I'm still waiting for someone that has been here for a previous webinar before we continue with our speaker, please.
Yes, I think I've attended one.
Good. So what was your take home from those webinars, Ma?
It has been a wonderful discussion. I've been gaining a lot, and that has been assisting me even to improve in my write-up and my papers.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ma. Who else wants to share something before we take the citation of our speaker? Okay. Without wasting much of our time, we're going to go straight to the citation of our speaker for today. Please just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Okay. Sorry, please give me a minute. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Ma. Okay,
Good morning.
welcome, Ma.
Sorry, I've been finding it difficult for the past few minutes to join. Thank God. I'm in now.
Welcome,
you
Ma.
hear me
That's
now?
one of our co-conveners. Welcome, Ma. We're just about to say to share our screen to take the citation, but you can continue the introduction, Ma. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you, Ma, clearly.
Oh, okay.
That's Mrs.
Honestly, sorry about
Olade.
Okay. So actually, sorry about this disruption. Where were we at again? I was talking about WAiC, and I was just saying that it's a capacity developing network to help women academics as they navigate through their career as academics, and also PG students, postgraduate students through their postgraduate journeys. So we provide support in terms of networking, collaboration, and training, just like we're doing now in this webinar. And today we have, the title of our webinar is Getting Published in High Impact Journals, the Salient Tips. We all know that one of the expectations for us as academics is getting published. So now getting published is not the issue, but if we want to be outstanding, if we want to be renowned in our field, we have to think about getting published in very high impact journals. We're talking about the journals in the Q1 and Q2 categories indexed in the Thomson Reuters Web of Science and the Scopus outlets. So, and to do that, we know that there are certain hurdles, particularly which young academics face. You know, when they talk about the rejections, the turnaround time, a lot of things that make people discouraged. But nonetheless, we know that publishing in high impact journals is the way to go. And so in spite of the hurdles, we want to learn what are those salient tips that will help people navigate through their journeys as academics. And so we have with us today a renowned and outstanding researcher. He's not only outstanding in his research, he also sits on the board as a reviewer in many of these high impact journals. And you will agree with me that there is no other person that can share the salient tips with us other than this person that will speak to us today. At the appropriate time, he will be introduced. In the meantime, I employ all of us to just listen, stay tight, have our questions in hand as we listen through this 45 minutes of insightful lecture. Thank you. Tosin, are you set, please? Tosin? Linda, could you share?
Yes,
share
I'm
your
set.
screen?
Yes, I'm set. Yes.
Okay, Linda, please, can you just share your screen?
Yes, I'm sure.
Linda, how far can you, or should I share from here?
Okay, can you? Okay, you can
great.
share. Please share.
No, it's fine. Oh, I'm going off and on.
Can you see the citation? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes,
I
we
can see the screen, but not the document.
can see your screen.
Okay, but for patience, please share.
Okay, let me try. Okay. Screen. Okay. Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes, we can. Just put it on.
Yes, we can.
Just enlarge it, ma.
Okay, just a minute.
Enlarge ready for my
And slideshow.
Yes,
Slideshow. Okay.
that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay. How is it now?
It's great.
Better?
Thanks.
Oh, okay. So, Tosin, we are set.
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, let's go. Can you read the citation, please?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, let me read from here. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so this is the
Yes, we
citation.
can hear you.
Dr. Timothy Olawumi. He's an assistant professor at Edinburgh Napier University, United Kingdom. He's a chartered surveyor with the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, UK, a registered member of the Green Building Council Nigeria, Hong Kong Green Building Council, BEAM Africa, Engineering Professors Council, UK, Building Smart International. He is a recipient of multiple prestigious and international awards across Africa, Asia, and Europe, including recently the Research Excellence Award by BEAM Africa in November 2021. And he's also winner of the Green Talent Awards, being named one of the top 25 outstanding young scientists in the world across all fields by the German Ministry of Education and Research in September 2022. I think our speaker deserves an applause. He has also secured external grant funding totaling more than 170,000 euros. He has, is that euro or pounds? He has experience in the industry and academia in Nigeria, in Hong Kong, and in the UK. He has researched teams ranging from sustainable construction and informatics, green buildings, green information modeling, blockchain, modular integrated construction, supply chain management, and the like. Based on these themes and others, he has been invited as guest and keynote speaker at international seminars and conferences, He also serves on the editorial board of 3 reputable and international SCI index journals. With over 50 published and well-cited research articles, he has contributed to digitalizing the built environment and climate-friendly practices. He is generally interested in applying digital technologies, in particular BIM, blockchain, cloud-based systems, sustainability, and data-driven techniques in construction management and engineering issues. Let's make welcome Dr. Timothy Olawumi as he shares with us today. A round of applause, please. Sir, you have the floor. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for the citation and also for the invitation to share my experience with each and every one of us. So I will share my screen now.
You can, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can see.
So, topic with me is getting published in high impact journals, Salient tips. During the presentation, we see me looking at the because I'm going to screen. Because apart from my presentation, I also be showing you some software and what have you that can be helpful. So you see me looking right and center because I'm using 2 screens for the presentations. Yeah, so thank you for the agenda for today. Looking at a number of things. But firstly, you must have an overview, of impact. Because I know that we have different people here, people who have been publishing impact in high impact journals, and also people who are just starting or just want to start. So you must understand what impact factor is, what's a good impact factor to publish in, and also you have to be looking at developing your writing skills, because it's not just about submitting to high impact factor. It's about writing something that they will accept, and also how you can go beyond just writing to developing your own skills, to engaging with collaborators and what have you. I'll look at that later. And then also what we look at the pitfalls to avoid. Many times, as you are starting your research career with having rejections, how can you avoid such those editors' love letters? I'll be giving you some pitfalls. And then now that you understand how to write, how to develop a capacity, and also the pitfall to avoid, most times the reason why a paper is accepted is not the reason why it is rejected. So I'll be teaching you how to affect your skills. And that's what we're looking at in how to publish. And then we'll close by giving you an opportunity to ask me some questions, and hopefully I'm able to answer your questions. Firstly, I will start with the disclaimer that I don't possess the magic power that guarantees that your paper get accepted in the journals. However, I can assure you that this knowledge that I'll be sharing today will greatly maximize those chances of you having your papers accepted in all these top journals. And one thing I also would like to know is that these top journals, they are getting more difficult day by day to get publishing. Why? Because as more journals are getting higher impact factors, the acceptance rate is getting lower and lower day by day. So that means you must up your game. Your research will be better than your contemporaries before you can get your slot if you're in all those high impact factors. So what is an high impact factors? Basically, we have 2 major metrics. There are several others, but 2 major metrics are being used globally, that is well known, and that is the Web of Science impact factors and Opus site score. Some universities use it 2, some use just 1. So either way, and most journals are in both Web of Science citation index and also in Scopus Index as well. So generally for me, or because constitutional journals, because I know that most of us are in constitutional journals don't have much journals with, let's say, 20, 50 impact factors. So I would say that if you get published in a journal with impact factor of, say, 1, that is quite okay. If it's between 2 to 4 or 4.5, that is quite better. But if you can get to 4.5 and above, that would be very good and excellent. However, I will say also that this impact factor is subjective. So it's not just say I want to submit in high impact factor, but also ensure that that paper, that journal rather, aligns to the field, to the topic of your research. And for Scopus, Scopus use percentiles. So if it's more than 80, but I always advise people to at least go for 90 and above. Because if you have papers with 90 percentiles and above, if such journals is indexed in Web of Science, I'd like to have good impact factors as well. So you gain in both ways. And why do we need to publish in high impact factors? Why should you? Because if you publish in high impact factor, it's very good for your career. It's going to help you in securing academic jobs, promotions, even grants. If you want to, publish in international, if you want international grants, national grants, they want to see evidence that you are doing something in that line, in that field, and that work has been recognized by being published in all these high impact factors. Although we generally know that it's subjective, but it's still being used. So that's why we just need to key into it. And also, it helps you in collaborations. It gives opportunity for people to say, oh, can you collaborate with me? Personally, like last year, this just concluded academic session. I collaborated with colleagues from about 17 universities across the world. Why? What gives me that privilege? Because of getting published in high impact factors. And if you want to do a research related to my area and they don't have that expertise, they'll call me, oh, can we work on this together? And then work on it and get published. And it also helps you with citations as well. Currently, I have close to 2,000 citations. And if you look at the ratio of the papers are published to the citation, it's quite large. Because if you publish in high impact factors, you likely see people citing your work because they know that the work is genuine, of high quality. And also, you might ask, what is impact factor? Just the definition of it, different databases use, but generally, just the citations of all the journals, all the articles in the journals, over 2, sometimes over 5 years, and they do the calculation based on the number of journals and the citations, and that will form the impact factor for that journal. So that's why it's very subjective. It's not just the citation of your own article in that journal. And without doubt, publishing these journals can be quite difficult or challenging for starters. For example, when I start publishing impact factor journals, first year, I think I only have 2 papers. But like the current year now, this current 2020, I have about 9 impact factor journals. So progression. So it's quite challenging at the first, but as you go on, you get better by and by. So the first aspect, how can you develop your writing skills? Firstly, you need to understand where to get the relevant literature for your paper. You must understand what are the authoritative outlets, most especially journal articles, books, and conference papers. You might say, oh, conference papers. Most conference papers are just maybe parts of what is probably published in the higher journals. But there are some, especially in IE or STVC or so, I forgot the name of that conference. Those conferences, the papers published there are comparable to even journal articles, even much sometimes better. So you might don't say, oh, conference paper is just a conference paper. There are some good work, public conference paper that are not extended for a journal article. And the one thing you must understand is using keywords. How do you define your keywords? For example, you want to search for, you want to start your research. But one thing that most, as you later look to the pitfalls, one of the things that people, when I review papers or edit papers of other researchers, is that they don't, when they are doing their literature review, for example, or trying to state their problem statement, is that they don't really look at the whole overview or the whole context of that paper. And the reason because they did not really search the literature well, and that falls under their keywords. How do you understand the keywords to use for your search, and how do you iterate those search multiple times to ensure that you get the right papers for your work? And one of the examples of search engine that you can use is Google Scholar. I said Google Scholar because it's free, it's open source. You don't need subscription for it, unlike Scopus or Web of Science. So if your university does not have subscription for Web of Science or Scopus, you can also use Google Scholar. In fact, most times I use Google Scholar. For example, if I have an idea of a research idea, I want to say whether someone has done it before, I just type the keyword in Google Scholar and browse through, and then I get this gap, there's a real gap in this area. So it's a very quick way to do that. And then also the use of reference software as well. You might say citation, why is it quite important? It's not just, this open software is not just for citations alone. Let us show you my Medellin reference manager. It's not just for citation, it's to keep a repository of papers in your field. And you can do that by signing up for all these alerts from Google Scholar, Web of Science, Medellin, Academia, Science Direct. You can sign up for alerts on research interest. For example, if you're researching on sustainability and you want them to give you alerts on new papers on sustainability, you can sign up for that. And when they send you the alert, you can download it and put it on your Medellin, on your EndNote, on any other reference software that you are using. And that will help you. So that when you are maybe writing a paper, you're not just searching afresh for new content, new papers to read, because you already have it on your Medellin software. For example, my Medellin software have about almost 10,000 papers. So if I'm writing a new paper, I don't have to be doing search afresh. I just start within my Medellin software because I already have the papers there. So that is quite good in developing your writing skills. Then also note-taking. And most often times we overlook this. We say, oh, I already have the paper. I can just highlight. Once I highlight the journal paper, the PDF, then anytime I read it, most times you don't have the time. Most often times we forgot the paper or the PDF you have read. I'm like, oh, I read this paper. It gave me information about this methodology. And you search and search, you can't find it again. But if you note it down using OneNote, for example, I use OneNote a lot. You can use it to organize all those materials, note it down, and easily you can search in it. And also one thing about note-taking is not just writing what the authors have written down in their papers. It's about looking at the bone of the matter. What did they talk about? For example, let's say you collected some data, and unfortunately, you don't have enough sample. And you see a paper that talk about using less than 20, for example, sample size. Rather than writing all information about it, you can just write the author, the name of the paper, the DOI, and then the key thing that you gain from that paper. okay, this paper used less than 20 sample size. So next time you are looking for information about the paper that's cited that used less than 20 sample size, you can reference that paper and use that as your justification for using less than 20 sample size. And OneNote is a great software that personally recommend. There are YouTube videos that can guide you on how to use it. Later on, before I finish my presentation, I will show you some links on OneNote that can really help you in using OneNote. You can use it to record your thoughts. You can probably are walking on the road and you have a research idea. You can dictate to it and to be recording it, writing it down in English for you. You can use it on phone, on tab, on laptop, or what have you. And you can highlight on it and annotate on it. And also, the use of framework. Framework is quite good if you want to try to design or try to link various concepts in your literature review or methodology. For example, you want to use a mix of research designs or methods. So, and you are faced with, how do I link those concepts, those uses together? You can use frameworks to link it together. And some of the tools that's available for you is Visual and QDA Miner. I will give you an example of that QDA Miner as part of my presentation today. So, for example, I use that QDA Miner and Visual to design such to organize your thoughts. For example, you are working on, for example, let's say sustainability, and you want to work on indoor environmental quality, and you are trying to like conceptualize your idea before expanding on it. You want to just have a context. Okay, these are the concepts under IAA. Which one should I look at? And then which method should I use? So before you think of expanding on it, first put in the form of a tree diagram, in form of a framework, and that can help you in later on expanding on such thought and reading more on such thoughts. So that's about framework. So still on developing writing skills. Another aspect is literature. Most often times, some papers are rejected by the editors because of the literature review or even the methodology as well. For example, the work is quite good. You use a good methodology, but did not tell us, did not justify to us why you use that methodology. Why is it the best? We have, for example, you want to use a multi-criteria decision-making method. Why is autopsy better than AHP? Why not using AHP or fuzzy AHP? You must tell us that. You don't just jump to the method that, oh, this method has been used by so and so. Yes, you know that they have been used. Why is it better? Why is it better for that research? You must critically appraise the literature for your literature review and for your research methodology. You must tell us the similarities in a statement by previous writers. We want to see the common issues that we discuss that was faced by previous writers. We want to see the contradiction of statements by previous writers, and also why probably a researcher used a previous paper used an inadequate method for their research. We want to tell us why the method they use. Probably they are doing similar research, but they use a method that you are not using. Why? So you must tell us that as well. And also for the methodology as well, why are you using that method? And how are you going to use it? So, and also one thing about writing also finally on the writing skills is use appropriate tools. For example, tools like Quibbot, Grammarly, QD Miner, NVivo can really help you, for various writing skills. For example, I'm very sure most of you are familiar with Grammarly. Another one is Quibbot. It's quite good. The free version is online, but if you have money, you can go for the premium version. As you can see on my screen, I have a premium version. You can use it to rephrase your words. Probably you're not so good. You can't express yourself in writing as much as possible. You can use it. I just get to know about this less than 2 or 3 months ago. And you can use it for plagiarism checker, co-writer. Please note, I'm not advertising for them. I have no commercial interest in them. I'm just using it for illustration in this presentation. So use it as you please. So that's about QD, QBot. Later on, I'll be discussing other methods, other tools like the QD miner. But I won't be discussing Grammarly because I'm very sure most of you are familiar with it. So later on, I'll be telling us how to use the QD miner for our research. It's quite very good, especially if you want to write a literature review, you want to discuss your findings and what have you. It's quite good for that. So the next aspect is engaging to level up. Now that you know how to write, it's also quite important also for you to develop your capacity to become a top researcher. Sometimes I do start up some colleagues who also collaborate on a paper or a project together. And some of them, probably because they are not published as much paper that are published, like, why is it chatting me up? They don't expect it, that I will call them for us to collaborate. At some point, they believe that they are benefiting alone. They don't benefit from such collaboration, but also I'm also benefiting from them because no one's an island of knowledge. They have, I don't have. For example, I and a colleague collaborated together, I think in 2020, on a paper. And I told him to write the literature review aspects. And the way he wrote the literature review was so unique. Although I have my own way of writing it, but he had a special spice of flavor that I like. And I told him that, you see, I get this from you. I'm going to start adding this also to my literature review write-up. So engaging with people, with researchers, not just within your institutions or within your country, it helps you to get better in writing. And that can also help you later on to publish in top journals. So what do you need to develop this capacity? Number one is volunteer as a reviewer. Some publishing houses, journals, outlets have ways you can volunteer to become a researcher. I'm going to provide you the link to the Elsevier Reviewers Hub, where you can volunteer to review for Elsevier's journals. And once you volunteer for all these journals, as you are reviewing all these manuscripts by your peers, it gives you ideas on the latest research and how research are being conducted by people all over the world, by people in Asia, in Europe, in America. You have an idea of how research is being conducted. And from there, you have to learn new techniques, research ideas, research method, techniques, or even get inspired on how to write, to research better, to innovate, not just writing review papers alone or just survey papers alone. You can even collect survey and transform a survey paper to something different, that you develop a tool from it and what have you. And how can you get us inspiration? By seeing what other people are doing. Of course, you can read papers, but most times, once you review papers, you get an idea. Because there's a paper that will be published that you not see. But by reviewing papers, you see such papers more, and you get to get an idea of the in-depth of the efforts people are putting to doing research. For example, I've completed a research that was in 2019. The research was okay and good, but there's a problem. I don't know the research. I don't know the name to give that research method because it was novel. If I just give it a normal name, it won't be so good. So I was reviewing a journal, and the manuscript used a research method, and that research method was common to people in the computer field, in computer science field. And what I did was programming of a thing. I was like, wow. And the research method, the design method, for that, the stages for that research design was exactly what I did, although I don't know the method. And that really helped me to get my paper published in a very high paper, high impact factor. But if I just use, I use programming, what have you, it won't sell because that was not the name. So by reviewing journals, you get an idea of what people are doing, the name for your research design, and stages for you to commence it. Then also collaborate to write. You can use tools, for example, modeling groups, what have you, for you to collaborate with colleagues, OneNote, Dropbox, and Zoom. One thing about collaboration is that it helps you, for example, where you're lacking. You can't know everything. You can't know all design method, all statistical tools, or what have you. You can't know everything. But by inviting colleagues to contribute to your work, probably they have expertise in simulation, in modeling, in one experiment or the other. You can invite them to collaborate with you. For example, one of my master's students who just completed her dissertation, she want to publish because she want to go into the academy, she want to publish papers. So I was like, well, this work you do is good for dissertation, but if you want to publish in a high impact journals, you must do more experiment because our work is a lab work. So I said, okay, we don't have all the regime, all the specimen and equipment in the university, but where can you get it? And she said, oh, in our own country, the university, they have a lot of equipment. I was like, okay, the best thing is for you to collaborate. You do one part of the work, and they do the other part of the work, and invite them as a co-author. So these are some of the ways you can help yourself to get your paper published in all these top journals. Don't just say, oh, I want to be the only author. Well, that is good, but it also shows that you can't work in a team. So try as much as possible. And sometimes you may write a paper, and like, oh, I want to include this aspect to it. I don't have expertise on it. You can invite somebody, may somebody totally new that you have never collaborated with before. Tell them, and if they're interested, invite them in. For example, and also another thing you can use for example, in I know most of us are from universities in Africa where we don't have access to papers. For example, if you are using Medellin reference manager, for example, let me show it to you. You can collaborate with it and share papers. So this is an example of my own, a group that I formed, this RMS group. So we have about we have about 5 people there, and we share resources on that group. The group, we started the group, as you can see, just in June. We share papers together, and whatever paper I share, they can see it on their own maintenance software. So we have a lot of tools that you can use for collaboration. You don't have to say, oh, I don't have this paper. Once you have a group of people that are working together, you can use all these tools to share papers, resources together without having to send it via emails or what have you. So all these tools can be so useful for you for your collaboration. So, and as regards collaboration as well, speaking of collaboration, some journals are quite selective in the paper they receive. And you might not know, or it might bemused you to know that some slots in some journals are inherited. You might be wondering, inherited, is it a property or an asset to be inherited? Some journals are quite difficult to get in if you are not published there before. And that is the bitter truth. And there's nothing we can do to that. So one way you can get into such journal is to publish with co-authors who are published in that journal before. And you are likely to escape the editor's desk rejection by doing that. Although it does not guarantee that your paper will be published in that top journal, but can help you to at least escape the desk rejection by the editors. Although the final fate still lies with the reviewer. So by publishing with someone that published there before, probably the person is known, it can help you. Of course, you can't see this online, probably in all these people, they tell you, oh, if you publish a good journal paper, you publish. Yes, of course, in most situations. But in most situations, most of these journals, they have quota of paper they want to accept in a year. That's why the rejection rate is getting lower and lower. So for you to escape such, you can collaborate with someone who is a top author, and that can help you to escape that. Otherwise, you just get this nice course letter that, oh, your work is quite nice, but does not have the wide impact or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no. And this is not just my own head thinking. I've had this sentiment directly from the editor-in-chief of a constitutional journal with an impact factor of more than 10. It was a workshop, and people are asking questions, and it slipped from his mouth. Especially if a review paper, it may find it difficult if you are not known to the editors, or if they check your profile. Sometimes these editors they look at this, they Google your name, and they look at your citations or look at paper you published, and like, oh, this person has not published in top journal before, or with us, or in all this wide impact factor. They may reject your paper on that. They won't tell you that, or just tell you, oh, it's nice, but it doesn't have this wide impact, or it doesn't cover this, or it's not within our scope, and there's nothing you can do. You can't appeal. So collaboration helps you sometimes. After I've done a good work, if you do a good work and collaborate, it won't go to, even if you know the editor-in-chief. But if you have done a good work and you then collaborate, it can also help you to cross the editor's expectation gravel. So still on engaging, attendance at workshop, symposium, international conferences can also help you to get opportunity to meet up with a network with journal editors, top authors in your field, industrial partners, and sometimes founders. So try as much as possible to attend workshop, conferences. Sometimes it may not be a one-day seminar or one-day workshop, symposium. Maybe sometimes you'll be paid. Most times it's free. You see some of it on LinkedIn. Sometimes you'll see it on Eventbrite. You say event nearby you. You can attend. Use that to ask questions. And once you ask questions and you say, oh, this question is quite noted, it's quite important. They will note your name, and they have that later on. You may find a way of interacting with people. Even some of the participants, you can interact with them and start collaborating from there. And personally, I've used those workshop conferences to meet up with people, with collaborators, with editors-in-chiefs, and even to ask questions as well. Probably I couldn't get into a journal, and I find that editor-in-chief in that conference. I asked a question. Oh, I intend to publish in a paper one time, it was rejected. Why? And you offer our explanation, and later on I get published. Not because I asked the question, but because I get feedback that helps me to improve my work. So also, the place of mentoring is also important, because publishing in impact factors journals covers a lot of spheres of your research work. There are many things that may be related to probably your ability to search or to some people, the research is good, but they can't tell the implication of, they can't write the implication of their research, they can't discuss it in a way that's caching. But allowing yourself to be mentored, your mentor will be able to understand or identify those gaps in your skills and help you to build it up. So that can also be an teacher process in you getting published in high impact factor and also be a well-published researcher. And that can be an informal arrangement between colleagues within or across universities, or even a more formal arrangement like being a PhD student or a postdoc can be a way of you getting better, in writing a good paper. And it's also an essential skill for you to publish in high impact factor. So that's all about how you can engage, to level up and be a better researcher and getting published in high impact factor. So we go into the next section. So the next section is about pitfalls to avoid. As researchers, one of the most things we dread, is the editor's love letter in quotes. Especially after you have expended a lot of efforts and time in writing a manuscript, that look literally like the latest Tesla's car, but the editorial team, think it looks like a skateboard or even a tricycle. But to you, it's like, oh, this is a wonderful work, and just give you some nasty comments, and you have for the whole day, you're not yourself. So, how can we avoid such pitfalls? How can we shred all those love letters and ensure that we minimize it? Of course, you still be seeing it occasionally, but at least to the bare minimum, probably once in a year, we're seeing such, not for every paper. So let us examine some of the reasons why such scenario occur. Number one is poorly written manuscripts. Sometimes the work to you may look so good, but to the viewer it was poorly written. The sections are not organized well, and you get rejected. And as I said earlier on, the reasons for accepting manuscripts are not the mirror image of the reasons for rejecting manuscripts. And if your manuscript is poorly written and contains, for example, numerous language errors, you would like to get critical reviews. Not because your work is bad, but because that poorly written article, it will trigger not so good reaction from such reviewers, and they go on a fishing expedition on your paper, looking for loopholes to reject it. I've read some papers that I question some aspect of the work, but such papers still get published. Why? Because it was well written, and the reviewers got sucked into those papers, and they failed to look to see such loopholes. But if you have language errors in your paper, the editors will now put on their goggles and glasses, and the reviewers and looking for ways to reject it. So try to, as much as possible, to reduce your language errors. Go for proofreading. I've mentioned some tools, the Quiboard, the Grammarly, to reduce such language errors, and not just language errors as well, but also the arrangement of your sections in your manuscript is quite important. So let us try to avoid that, because scientific writing is not just about good science; it's also about a well-written manuscript. And even if there's an error in your work or it's not so good, if it's well written, the figure, the tables are well structured, you may get a second chance of a review rather than being rejected. So use ensure that it's well written, at least to get the reviewers, the editors to like your work, and then give you a chance to improve on it. So another aspect is poorly designed or inadequate research design. And this can be because of inadequate sample size or a biased loop-sided sample. For example, let's say you want to develop a tool for the industry, and then all the people you involve in your focus group, in your what have you, are just people in academic. Then it's biased. Or of course, you include people in the industry, but more of it are people from the academics. Or you say, oh, this tool is for a country, and you only do a research for just a small project. It will be thrown out of the door. Another aspect is a poor experimental design can be also under problem. For example, if you are doing lab work, each lab work, for example, have various stages. The things you must do before you start the real research design, how you must be checking for example, your experiment probably every 3 hours, every 6 hours. You document all those ones. What are the reagents? What have you? And if your work is interviews, surveys, was this pilot tested? And what was the result of the pilot testing? How do you incorporate it in developing your questionnaire survey or interviews? All this must be catered. And if it's saying that you do not cater for that or do not do it, you will be thrown out of the door. Then another thing is you just duplicating previous studies. Probably a study use fuzzy synthetic evaluation, and you just use it without looking at the context of your work, whether it's applicable to your work or to your data, whether your data is parametric or non parametric, and you just use ANOVA. We don't know whether you do not do a test for normality of the data, for example, and just go ahead and use it. And the reviewer will tell you there's no evidence to show that, okay, this data is normal distribution or not. Another thing is you have done a good work, but you not fully explain the method you use. Or for example, where the details provided are so difficult to follow. That can be another problem. Probably because you don't want to be within the word limit, you just jump steps. That can be a problem, and the work can be rejected for that. So, so in some cases, it's better to put much information into your method, and then the reviewer will tell you, oh, the method is too much explained, and then for you to now reduce later on during the review, then put little information and being rejected. Another way you can do it for the method is that rather than, for example, let's say you use all this fuzzy method, and because of the word length, you are trying to keep within the word length. You can just take the equation, for example, and just give a little example of how you calculated it, the figures in the table. Just give a little illustration of how you use that equation to solve one of the lines or one of the rows in the table. And that gives the viewer the opportunity to go through your work, to understand what you are doing, to understand how you arrive at the figures in those tables, rather than just putting the equations. The viewer is like, how cannot follow through or cannot repeat or replicate your work. So another reason is inappropriate statistical method. Ensure that the method you are using is appropriate for your work. And this is quite often a problem when you only think of the research methodology after you have conducted you have done your data collection, for example. Before you do your data collection, you have not think of how do I analyze your work, analyze this work or the resulting data. So before you even start your work, map out the objectives, map out the method, the data collection, the statistical tools that you want to use. For example, all this, back to this multi-criteria decision method. For example, AHP, if you're using AHP, you only need 3 ranges. But if you are going for, there's one, Shokret-Fuzzy integral, that one uses 4 ranges. So if you collect data based on 2 ranges and later you want to use the show confusing integral, for example, it won't work unless you want to manipulate the data. And an eagle eye reviewer who knows the work, you pick it out. And your work can be rejected and you can be marked down out of someone that was told that you can never publish in a journal before again. So be very careful and ensure that you use appropriate statistical method and avoid falsifying data. So under pitfall, I believe we should not be making this error, not conform to the scope of a journal or probably the referencing style, what have you. So ensure that you read the author's guidelines, ensure that your work is within the scope of the journal. Another issue is insufficient problem statement. So if you have done your literature review well, you should not have problem with that. So ensure that you properly define and appropriately frame the study question. So let us, why are you researching this topic? Why is it so significant? If it's just a minute, so this helps you to know whether it's a minute increment or just an incremental addition to the body of knowledge or not. So do spend more time to frame or define the problem statement. You just say, oh, it was done in this context, but it has not been done in this context. It's not enough. Why? Why is it important for it to be done in your own context? So you go further than just, oh, it has been done in the US, but it has not been done in the UK. Why is it important to the UK context? So you must tell us what are statistics to show that, okay, this is a problem in the UK context. So just giving geographical reason is not enough. Another way you can state your problem statement is via the method. Or probably the previous research I used a method, probably based on observation or survey. But you want to go for experimental, or you want to go for prediction using AI, machine learning. And you tell us the value of using that method, or that using a new method for the same research. So that's about that. Another reason is confusing or over-interpretation of research or of result or data. So reviewers want to see a clear and honest approach to your discussing of your results. So avoid writing or saying what the data does not represent. For example, you collected the data, probably survey data, for example, and maybe let's say the most important factor is A, and you now tell us that the reason why A is most important factor is because of this and that reason was not emanating from your data. Then the viewer will like, that is you trying to overstate or try to push your paper through without really showing the implication of your research in practice. So please, when you are designing your study and also interpreting your findings as well, be very aware of this, and also try to state any bias or anything that might have affected your data while you are discussing your result or what have you, and also any confounding variables that was not taken into context while you are collecting your interpreting or discussing your findings. And also try to make your tables and graphs easy to read. Most editors, before they send your work to reviewers, some of them look at your graphs, your tables. They want to see whether it's good enough, because they receive a lot of journal papers every day, and not all of it can be published. So they want to look at which one to throw out of the window. So ensure that you don't put yourself in such a situation whereby the editor does not have time to look at your work in depth to see the quality of it or the impact of it. So look at your tables, your graphs, pay attention to it, and ensure also that it conforms to the journal's guidelines and style. So Another reason is outdated literature review. So ensure that it's up to date, ensure you conduct proper literature review, not just for the research teams as alone, but even on methodology. Use the latest method and let us see the reason why you use the method. And also ensure that at least 40% of your references are within the last 7 years. And some journals, they want you to cite at least one of their papers. If you don't cite it, you see a comment like it's not within our scope. Because if it's within the scope of the paper, you have cited one of the work published in the paper, in the journal, rather. So at least try to cite one of the papers published in that journal. And also try to do an in-depth review, because most of the reviewers of your work are like to be subject matters expert in that field. So if you know the papers in that field, because they are active reviewers, active researchers in that field, they know who have published on it. So if you do a work on BIM, for example, and you don't cite some authors, your work is likely not to scale through, because those authors are known as the foundation of that field. So ensure that you cite their work as well. Then also another problem is some people have done good work, but the conclusion is not supported by the data. That is, they cited, oh, this is our objective, or this is the aim of this study, and in the conclusion, they ended up saying something else. You can't align the objective with the data collected, with the findings and the conclusion. So ensure that your conclusions, your findings are supported by the data and not overstated. Don't overstate it or make it too sweepy or too general, or try to generalize it. Ensure that your findings are kept within the context of or within the scope of the work. And also ensure that they make sense. Whatever you are stating, ensure that they make sense to you. You can give someone else to read it as well, to ensure that it makes sense to them. And also ensure that it addresses the research questions. So reviewers, editors want to say that, okay, you state that this is a research question, and they want to see how you achieve it, and how you achieve that research question, how you solve that gap in the literature. They want to see it in the conclusion, not just you telling us or repeating or summarizing the result again. So the conclusion is not just you summarizing the result again. It's for you to show us the correlation between the research objective, results, and the research problem. They want to see it, and then why the methodology help you to achieve it. So that's what they want to see, not just a summary of what you have done. And also avoid just merely restating the result. I've just mentioned that. Instead, you can also propose alternate explanation. For example, why the result was like that, and what might have influenced the result to be what it is. Probably the result deviated from even your objective. Let us know why it is what it is. Then lastly, under this aspects, another pitfall to avoid is unwillingness to address reviewers' concerns. Sometimes we find some reviewers that are very nasty in their comments. They want you to do analysis for a literature review. Like, does this reviewer really read through this work? Of course, you face such issues while trying to publish, but try as much as possible to address their suggestions, their concerns, because it will always improve your work. However, if you disagree with any comment by any reviewer or even the editor itself, try to put it in your cover letter and let your cover letter to the editor to let he or she know that, okay, reviewer B or reviewer A or 1 or 2 make this comment, but based on this, so you don't just use wording. You can cite papers that have done similar research like yours and use the same method or what have you put in your reviewer in your cover letter. I've done that not once, not twice. I think about two or three times. But I disagree with the reviewer's comment, and I put my cover letter, and paper was published. So, but ensure that you know what you are doing before you do that. So ensure that you really know that what you are doing is the right. Otherwise, your paper may be rejected. And also, even apart from putting the cover letter, even in your response to the reviewer's comment, ensure that you also tell the reviewer that you disagree with him, that based on this research done by this and this is what they do, and this is nothing I have done, and it was published in the comparable journal, like this journal. And I can tell you that you don't have any problem getting published with that. So now that we know how to write, how to engage to level up, and how to avoid those pitfalls, let us conclude by perfecting our skills, by knowing how to publish. Now to know what to include in ingredients, to include our papers, to ensure that we have our papers in all these top journals. So the number one is in the form of a question. So is your research solving a relevant problem? It doesn't have to be a big problem that, oh, this research is putting an end to climate change. No, you can't be the only one to do that one. It will be a community of researchers. So it doesn't have to be a big problem, but it must be a relevant problem, relevant to the context of your study. I've talked to you, okay, I've talked about putting good tables, figures, or writing your paper well. No grammatical errors, what have you. That is very good, but it won't help you if your study is not the kind that top paper or top journals publish. So the first question is it societally relevant? It may not be relevant to every context, every country, but to that context, it may be relevant. Another question you may want to ask yourself, does it have any practical implication? It's not, you're not publishing for libraries. You're publishing for it to solve real life problems. And you might not know all these government agencies, even private organizations, they also do literature review. If they want to formulate their policy, they look at all these papers and they want to look at what we researchers have talked about. So, and all these editors, they want to aid them in that as well. They want to say whether your work is solving a real problem. For example, you want to do a research, okay, level of awareness. How is that going to help? I'm not saying it's not going to help, but you must tell us why. It's left to you to tell us the practical implication of that study. And you can do that by just asking a friend, even a non-researcher, that, oh, I'm doing something, do you think that's relevant? And that can give an idea of whether your paper can solve a real-life problem. And also, with the findings, influence policies or the work of your peers. Probably build on the work of your peers. Probably someone have done a research on indoor environmental qualities of a building, of a residential building, for example, in Hong Kong. And you look at in the literature, there have not been any research, for example, on maybe waste management or what have you. And that can be that can be a relevant problem. And probably, let's say in your country, the government is trying to maybe have a vision so and so. For example, in the UK, we call it the future home standard 2025, in which new buildings, not top buildings, new buildings should emit less carbon dioxide than the current buildings, at least 75% less carbon dioxide. Then if I want to do research, I can do a research that we aim to help the government, achieve that. So by that, I'm trying to influence the policy, and I will state that in my research and also in my application of my study. So ensure that you keep note of that. It's not just when you are writing a grant that you talk about the impact of your work or the likely impact of your work. It's even while writing a paper. Another thing is, another question is your research robust? Is it a robust one? Sometimes presenting an answer to a big problem or issues of significant implication is not enough. You may want to ask yourself, if the data you collected or the findings, have you collaborated with, or have you substantiated it with different methods, theories, or model systems? For example, you collect a survey result. For example, a survey result. You can use various tools to make meaning of that result, get different inferences, not just mean, or not just ANOVA. You can use various tools to make meaning of that result. Another way you can make your research robust is transfer innovative idea from another field to your field. Probably from computer science, it can be from philosophy, it can be from economics, and you apply it to your field in an innovative way. And the more you do that, the more the better. And if you are a genius, you can even invent a new method. However, there's a caveat. You must show to us why the new method is better than the previous method or previous systems used in previous studies. For example, you develop a AI system to predict the cost of mega project, maybe bridges or what have you. So you must tell us why that AI model is better than any other existing models. And you must show us practically. So that is, you do a prediction using an AI model and do a prediction with the existing methods and present both results in your paper. So you don't just present the results in your paper, just tell us that, oh, this method is better than another method. You have not showed us. You must do the two analysis, or probably you compare 2 or 3 systems, but do those analysis in your paper, not just the new method you present. Otherwise, you have not shown us practically whether it's better or not. We can't rely on your head knowledge or your biased, biased mind of it, because of course we always bias about our own work. So we want to see whether it's better or not. And you might also want to ask, how can I accomplish this? Is number one, you have to formulate your problem well by stating, okay, this method is not good, and I'm now going to propose a new method. I must tell us why the method is good and appropriate for your research. So don't just use the method because everybody's using it. This is appropriate within the context of your research. So that's quite important as well. Then also ensure you follow each methodology have stages and have the type of data you need to collect. So ensure you follow that appropriate stages or they outlined in literature. Whether you're using mathematical modeling, visualization, empirical analysis, or even lab work, there's a standard way of getting things done. So ensure you follow it and let us be reviewed in your work. So another one is, does your research aligns with the aim and scope of the journal? So you can easily do that one using Journal Finder by Elsevier and think, check, submit. I provide the link afterward. If you look at the Journal Finder of Elsevier, from there you can really put your title, the abstract. You don't need to put anything here, and put the click find to give an idea. But this one is just limited to journals in Elsevier. But the best way is for you to look at the scope of that of the journal, their aims and scope, and look at the previous journals, the previous journal papers published in that journals, and that can give an idea of what the paper they accept. Because if your work is good, excellent. For example, I do a work on computing, and then I went to a paper on sociology. They won't accept it. Although it's novel, they won't accept it. So that we won't waste our time on that. Then another thing is your research telling a story. This oftentimes some researchers think that, oh, they can use people that know this idea of storytelling. People that, oh, they most times use it to sell their research. No, it's not story selling. It's story telling. And what I mean by storytelling it means that you make such you write your research or write the story element, that is the central theme of your research, the problem, the solution, the implication, in a consistent, compelling way that the reviewer, the editor, can find themselves within the scenario of that research. They can picture, maybe visualize that research as if you are the one within that research. So use the storytelling to sell, not use the storytelling to sell your research. Use it to make it for the editors, the viewers to understand your research. And what you do when you write, what you do when you tell a story in your research is by incorporating all those story elements in a logical format. For example, you want to talk about a method or the implication of your research. You want to tell us that, oh, this research is good for this. You can give us an example, a scenario, or walk through a real life typical situation. For example, let's say you did a case study. You can tell us the implication, how that research was so good, and how it added value to a case study, for example, or an if scenario. So you give us the context and meaning, not just the fact that, oh, this research is so good, or it will improve the finances of the company. You can give us a scenario that, okay, using this data, or what have you, you give us a real life scenario or a not so real life scenario, and to let the editor walk through what you're telling them and understand your research better. Another thing is any result that is not relevant to the content of your research. Most time we conduct a study and we publish a lot of papers from that study. So some context, some result may not be relevant to a particular paper. So don't include it. Otherwise, it may bring a lot of questions, which may even make our paper not be accepted. So please let us ensure that any results that's not relevant or that you don't really explain in detail is not included in your research. So if you want to know more about storytelling, you can go online and see how you can add that to your paper writing. Another thing is figures. I've mentioned figures earlier on. Figures is quite good and quite relevant. Most of the times, there are some things we present on tables that can even put in figures. So they are very key to your papers and can even help you to even scale the editorial rejection desk. So, but one thing about figures is that I ensure that you use the right figures with consistent color coding, and ensure that it doesn't have a lot of noise figure, not tables, and not even the paragraphs. So you should not have a lot of textual information that can turn the viewers off. And the worst of all is to use the wrong plot type. So ensure that you are using the right plot type. If you don't know the right plot type, a little search on Google can tell you how to plot it. So another thing is clear and concise writing. So I've talked about proofreading your work a lot of time today. So make use of all these grammar tools to cross-check your work, and also avoid writing long paragraphs. Most often times we have stated the significance of our work, the problem statement, our findings, but most times hidden within long paragraphs. And let me tell you, most often times reviewers don't read all your work. They only focus on which aspect they have more expertise on. That's why sometimes you see a reviewer talking more about your methodology, some talking more about your findings, some talking about your aims and objectives. And those that have more in your area, they talk about everything. So ensure that you don't write too much long paragraphs that I see, for example, half a page length. And also avoid repetitive words and statements. For example, when I review some work or I do some work, I do some authors, what they state in their problem statement. Of course, it's relevant sometimes to what they want to write in their conclusion, but you can write it in another word rather than repeating it again and look as if you are copying a paragraph in your introduction to your conclusion or in your abstract. And sometimes I see some authors writing some part of their literature review in their abstract. It push reviewers away. So ensure that you don't repeat words or statements. Try as much as possible to reduce that. It helps us to get our work published. And also ensure a smooth flow of reading. From sentences to sentences, paragraphs to paragraphs, section to sections. And also, you can make use of flow charts or UML, Unified Modeling Language, to illustrate the steps, for example, you use for your methodology. This is an example of a paper that I use the UML, Unified Modeling Language. It's an example of a paper I published recently that I use UML. I use to explain the steps I use in my methodology. Because if I want to write it down in the paper, it will be on a whole paper on its own. So, but using the UML or using flowchart, you can easily explain the methodology within few pages. Then also, after you use flowchart UML, still explain some key steps in your scientific solutions or methodology to improve the flow of reading. Don't just put it in a figure, in the UML figure or flowchart figure. And ensure you explain the key steps in that scientific process that you use for your research as well. Then another thing is your core letter convincing. Some journals nowadays are now requiring editors or authors rather to write convincing core letter. They want to see the implication of our research in our core letter. So see they tell you that core letter is important. And you try to ensure that it's quite convincing, try to provide information. You just say, oh, thank you for reading our work. Let them see the significance of that paper. At least write 3 things that you can consider as deliverables from that study. 3 things that you know that these 3 things are very germane, or implication, or recommendation, or probably a tool that develop. Let us see it in the core letter and why it is. And you can put in your core letter. Then other information like I've talked about comments from the reviewers. For example, you can even put suggestions of where reviewers don't want, or reviewers don't want the editors to invite. For example, probably you are doing similar work and you are of different lab, and you are competing with each other, different lab, different university. You don't want them to review your work. You can put that there. And also, if your work is a part of a on a paper that's been published or been sent to another journal or the same journal. They call it companion manuscript. Put that information also in your cover letter. But most importantly, we want to see why your paper should even go for review. We want to see it in the cover letter. And even if the journal is not requesting for it, find a way of slotting it into it. That can help you to avoid immediate desk rejection. And then also, as I round up, concise and informative title is also very important as well. So ensure that your title is quite informative. Find a way of writing the methodology, if possible, the solution, the value of your paper, of that work within the title. Most times I spend 30 to 1 hour trying to frame my title. No, so because once it's catchy, like the letter, like what does this author write? Why should I even read this paper? No, it draws them, it draws the viewer to read your work. You know, I was meeting with someone recently. We were talking about writing something. So it was like I should write the paper title. And she was surprised. I was next 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I was still writing different things, trying to find a way of 4 minutes. And when I write finish, I was like, wow, that is very wonderful. Spend time on writing an informative title that is like an hook that will pull the readers in the first instance, which is the editors and reviewers, into your work. So ensure that title is informative, telling the viewers what the finding is, and ensure that it's not more than 18 words. And it should not have any article like AD. And title can be a question format. It doesn't have to be a statement every time. It can be a question format. So find a way of being innovative with writing your title, and also your abstract as well. Your title, your abstract, you know, these short blocks of text, or most time is what we write last, but they are very much important. They are the first thing the editors and viewers read. And even after the paper is published, that's what it has more views even than the paper itself. So ensure that you take time to write your abstract. Let your abstract contain a brief summary of the content of the work, the problem statement, the aim of the work, the methodology, how you collect the data, the findings of the work, and implication of the work. So let all this be contained within your abstract and ensure that it's within the word limits. And let it be catchy as well, and be clear to them as well. So as I round up, personal experience sharing. When I started, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I published my first paper in 2016 rather. But prior to that, I've been doing research. Before I started my research, then what I first did, because I don't want to just publish anywhere or in all these pay to publish papers. I downloaded 10 from all these high impact journals, and I look at them, each one of them, how do they write their abstracts? How do they write their introduction? How do they write the literature review? The methodology, the data collection, how do they write every aspect? I note it down. I still have the book with me. For those 10 journals, 10 journal papers, and then from there, I develop myself little by little. So you can see that it's not just about try and error. You must learn from others who have done it. Then also know how top authors write. I've talked about that. Check papers. Be a reviewer as well. You can give you an idea of how top authors write in your field. You can volunteer to be a reviewer with journals. Then also try to submit your papers to difficult journals first. Don't just say, oh, let me just try with 1.1. Try with those type of something. You may not be lucky, you may not be accepted, but you get useful comment that can help you to rewrite your work. And by the time you are done with 10, 9, you find yourself with 6 or 5 impact factor journal. And that is it. Later on, you won't be meeting the target of those 5, 10, 11, 12 impact factor journals. But if you are scared and I don't want rejection, you must be able to develop these skills for all those rejection. That's part of development as a researcher. When I started, sometimes I received the rejection letter 3 a.m. in the morning. And from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., I won't be able to sleep. But later on, I don't care. And afterward, my skills develop and the rejection reduces. But initially, you must develop that skill. And if you are not emotionally strong, you can talk with someone. And sometimes you may not even receive actual rejection. You may receive some comment that look as if you are writing a whole research afresh. That you even submit this paper, but still put your head down and do the work. Then always do a thorough job. Always do a thorough job. Use the most difficult, complex techniques or experiments. Don't try to, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I need to publish a paper before the next promotion. Oh, I need to do. This because you want to get if someone want to win a medal, an athlete want to win a medal in the Olympics, you have to do a lot of exercise. You have to do a lot of weightlifting, even as a track and field athlete. Like what you want to get a medal. Although publishing the impact factor in journal is not a medal, but it's a goal for you. So like a medal. So you must be ready to use the most difficult, complex, most difficult experiment. For example, there's a paper I published. I intend to use the method before. That method, it has not been used by most researchers. So before I learned that method, it took me almost a month, even more than a month, to learn that statistical method. It took me almost a month or more of intense, even night reading. So I discussed with a colleague, like, oh, I want to use this method for this too. Because that colleague had used that method before, that can I use it? So it was like, I can use it, but you advise that I should try to look for whether there's another more difficult one. I was like, this one that is difficult, I spend 1 month. How will I now go for another more difficult one? How many months will I spend on that? But because I had used a more difficult one before, I've studied a more difficult one before, by the grace of God, within 3 days, I understood the new, most complex method within 3 days. So don't be, and that paper has been well cited, a lot of citations on it, because I took my time to explain how the method can be used. Unlike other papers, I try to explain how people can replicate that method in their own research. And people do like that. So another way to get citations is using new method and explain to people how to use it and how they can use it for their own work as well. So then always publish as soon as you have your data. Because most often times, I have people say, oh, they send the work to a journal and the journal says a similar work has been published. And if you ask them, when do you have that data? Oh, I have the data since last year. Why don't you publish it? So try to analyze your work, your data as soon as possible and write the paper. Don't leave it in the archive for later months. Of course, academics are so busy with administrative work, with lectures, with other things that leave little or no time for even research. But still try to write your work. And one way you can do that is collaborating as well. Somebody you can collaborate with people, someone can write the introduction, you can write the literature review or methodology, someone can write the findings. And within that, within a few weeks, or the paper is out for publishing. From January to September now, I already have about 13 papers, 9 journals, and 4 conferences. How? By collaborating. I write one aspect, they write another aspect, and work is out. But left to me, I don't think I will publish 3 papers because this has been the most busy year. But by collaborating, I'm able to share the time and everything, and work is out. So try to publish as soon as possible. Then also, and this is quite very important, flow with the trend in your field. Flow with the trend in your field. Find a way of incorporating new concepts, new technologies in your field, or even other field in your research. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to increase your chances of getting published in all these high impact factors journals. I was speaking with, I was in a workshop, and someone asked an editor-in-chief that, oh, I submitted your work, a survey paper, it was not accepted, blah, blah, blah. Why is it? The editor-in-chief said that they don't accept survey papers. You might wonder, then how will I get my survey paper published in impact factor? Know what the guy did? The guy who did the other survey paper and add technology to it and publish it together, and it was accepted in that high impact factor of more than 10 point something, about maybe 11 impact factor. So, and also do flow with the trend in your field. For example, sustainability is a latest trend. And what about sustainability applies to all fields. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a degree in sustainability. For example, my background, my first degree was in conservation. But there's something like conservation in my research for the past 5 years. There's not of such. Because I was like, how do I get published? Most of these journals, they want to be known in the media. They want their impact factor to increase. So they want papers that will help them. So I have to follow with the trend by looking at what are the latest trends: sustainability, green buildings, blockchain, AI. And that helps my work to get published in all this high impact factor. And not that alone, your citation will increase. Because more people will be citing your work. For example, in my first 5 years of publishing, I have about 1,000 citations. And within the next 1 year, I have almost 80% of what I had in the first 5 years. Why? Because I'm flowing with the trend. And that once I get more cited, once I get published in high impact factor, you get known, and people recognize your work, and they invite you for collaboration. And the more collaboration you get, the more papers you get, and the more other deliverables that you get. So before I end, there's something I said I want to share. It's about this coming. Okay, this QDA minor, you find it so good. I just started using it less than 3 or 4 months ago, and sincerely, it's quite very good, quite very good. It has a light version, a trial version. No, it's not a trial. It's a trial version from light that you can use, and believe it me, it's quite good for writing your work. So you can, once you scroll down, click on light version, you scroll down, you fill in the information. I'm not the owner, so I just started using it myself about 3 or 4 months ago. You put in the information and they send it to your email. This, I'm using the full edition. If you have money, you can go for the upgrade, but I can tell you that this light edition is enough for your needs. So once you click the use full edition, I'm coming. No, it's not loading again. So I just want to teach you this software. You find it so good. It's so wonderful. If you are not so good in literature review or discussing your findings, most times you know your findings, but you don't know. You can't reference. Don't know which other papers or other work have done similar thing or confirm, or which word should I use, or it's an agreement with your findings or negate your findings. So let me open recently open project. This is my own file. It's very much because it's about 10,000 papers that I have on it. So one thing about this QDA Miner is that you can download papers on it, and then if you convert the paper to text file, so it's quite easier to search for information on it. So search for maybe a paper that I've talked on this aspect. It's quite easier to use this QDA Miner than using Mendeley or even using Google Scholar. I will give you an example. For example, so this is my Mendeley Reference Manager. So if I want to search on Mendeley Reference Manager, for example, let me search BIM and blockchain. I'm looking for people that talk about BIM and blockchain. So it will only show me, I don't know why it's not. It will only show me the papers that I have here, but it won't show me where in the text that I can find BIM and blockchain rather. It won't show me in the text where I can find BIM and blockchain. So that means I have to read all through these papers, and that's a lot of work. So with this QDA Miner, you can import your PDF. In other cases, you can import your PDF. Okay. In other cases, you click on append and then you import your PDF for your Mendeley software. You can import it as a PDF file or as a folder. Maybe all the PDF in the folder, you can import it. So, for example, I have about 9,036 articles that I've imported here. These are all I have here. So, before I give you an example of how to make use of it, let me just share with you some of all what you see here in this left column. In this left column are my previous searches. So if you highlight here, you see the search string that I use: construction and blockchain. Here I use blockchain technology, ledgers, tools, and libraries, blah blah blah. So rather than searching for blockchain and construction, once I search for it, I code it, and I need papers on that, I come here, I right click and click retrieve segment. So you can see it is loading. I've already coded it before, so it's just trying to load it back for me. So let me reduce this. So if you note that by this right hand here, you see the constitution and BCT, and within the code, you see that there's constitution and blockchain. If I click under this one here, the next one, that's on that paper, it will show me within the text where the constitution and blockchain appears. So beside you see other overlapping codes. So with it, you can easily, for example, if you need let's do our own search and code it. For example, let's say I go to retrieve text retriever. So the way we code there is quite different from the way we code on Google Scholar, what have you. So let's say I'm looking for definition of BIM. So I can put BIM or building underscore means space under in this software underscore information modeling, and it's still the same thing as you doing like this, building information modeling. And write it in the full, the same thing, either use quotes or use underscore, either way. And then let's say, and I want the definition of it. So the different way people define something, they can put define or definition. So I put asterisk for define, definition, what have you. Or people can put say describe or description. So we have option of searching within document, paragraph, sentence, and code segment. So the best way is paragraph, because if you put document, it's the same thing as if you are searching to Medellin, Google Scholar, what have you. So I put paragraph, all words, others leave it as it is, and put search. So remember our code word is BIM, building information modeling. So I try to look for the definition of building information modeling in our document. Rather than going to Google Scholar and looking for what is the definition of BIM, you can get it directly from our archives. So you can, as I've talked earlier on, you can build our archives by signing up for alerts from all these Google Scholar, Science Direct, Academia, and all just like that, and then downloading it and storing it on our Mendeley. And then from our Mendeley, we can copy all those PDF and then import it into our QDA miner. So it's quite slow because it's searching through 9,000 papers and searching through each text. So it's quite slow, but it will be done quite soon. My RAM is good. So it should be done quite good. So while we are waiting for this, let me talk about Mendeley. If you look at our Mendeley here, you'll see the papers I've downloaded and how I categorize it into various segments. So if I want to cite it, it will be easier for me to cite. So you can see AA new, basically if I'm importing as fresh. But let's look for the methodology, for example. So I put, you see under methodology, I have under, segment, data collection. This one is pattern analysis, full system evaluation, social and communication modeling. So if I click on it, you see, various techniques and the authors that have used it. And the authors that have used the same method. So I don't have to be searching afresh, wasting time. Multi-criteria decision-making tools, AHP, AMP, Chukwet Integral, Fuzzy Topsy, other Fuzzy methods. Various methods for reviews, psychometric, symptomatic, thematic reviews, content analysis, and etc. So not just about you download the papers, try to categorize it so it will be easier for you to cite them. Design science, this under methodology, framework, about framework validation development. So it make it easier for me. Theories, research philosophies, all those, what they call it, epistemology. You know, if I need information about it, I can go it and cite the work. Theory of planned behavior, technology acceptance model. You know, so it's not just about using software; it's about using it efficiently. So that's about methodology. This is about smart and sustainable. All the papers are under it: smart cities, green assessment tools, cloud-based systems. You know, this helps you to manage your work. This is about blockchain, built environment, AI in construction, machine learning algorithms, this conserving related work, partnering costs, what have you, simulation, you know, supply chain, safety. This is about learning curve. When you are using learning curve, when you are trying to compare the learning curve of using maybe different technologies. We talk about, you can use this paper to understand that. This is about modular construction or offsite construction, risk. This is on the teaching and learning project that I did. Use cases, it makes it easier for me. For example, earlier on I talked about less than 20 sample size. I was discussing with a colleague recently, and I was like, do I have a paper that talks about less than 20 sample size? I said, I have not seen such before. So he said he's going to look for it. And when he looked for it, he sent it to me, and I included it under my survey, less than 20 sample size. So let's say for in the future, I had the work and the sample size less than 20. I can cite these 3 papers that they use less than 20 sample size in their work. So this is an example of how you can make use of your modeling and what have you. And earlier I've talked about the groups, where you can manage a group and then share your documents across countries or what have you. So unfortunately, Liquidity Miner is not working, but if you go to YouTube, you can see some example of how you can make use of Liquidity Miner for your work. So back to my presentation. So I give you here some examples of useful links on OneNote. Here is underscore, not a space. On Quillbot, Liquidity Miner, I can download it. Your reference Mendeley, Grammarly, Eslivia, Journal Finders, and then if you know more about the impact factors, these are some of the useful links that you can make use of. So this time for us to ask our questions. I'm happy to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, before we take the questions, and can we take a photograph, our group photograph? Before we take our questions, we'll be taking our group photograph. Before we take our questions, we'll be taking our group photograph. So please, let's turn on our videos. As usual, we take our group photographs before the question and answer time. Thank you so much for such an insightful lecture. Okay, let's do beautiful. We're still waiting for you to turn on your videos. Thank you. Yes, we have wonderful new faces. We're still waiting for a lot of people. Okay, thanks. So as usual, you cannot say WAiC without smiling. So at the count of 3, we're going to say WAiC and take our photograph. So we're taking it 3 times, please, so that we can capture everybody. And then for those of you still turning on your videos, we're giving you time to turn on your videos. Thank you so much. Beautiful, wonderful faces. Thank you. So at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, WAiC. WAiC, good. Okay, some videos are still off. Let's do it again. Yes, 1, 2, 3, WAiC. WAiC. Yes. And for the last time, some videos are still off. I'm still giving some people, okay, good. Some people are coming on. Yes. So for the last time again, 1, 2, 3, WAiC. WAiC. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So over to you, Dr. Oluwatosin.
We've the lecture has been an impactful time. I just kept on jotting so that we're in the question and answer time, and I think I've been able to collate one person's question. We can still send in our question. So to the presenter, this person requested collaboration using Mendeley group. How can we collaborate? An example of team. We should throw more light on how Mendeley group. And then the person requested that does it give to the library of the group members? Are you going to have direct access to library? Peer reference or what does it entail? We'll like to know more, sir.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, yeah, so this is the name of the group, for example, that I'm working on. I can add new groups here. So let's say I add a new group. So let's say I added a new group. What I need to, I click this arrow, this 3 dot here. Once I click on it, to allow me to tell me whether I want to manage the group, name the group, or delete the group. So I click manage group. So I've been the one inviting or creating the group. I'm the owner. So it allows me to invite people. So once I click invite, I need to put their emails here, one after the other. And the emails must be the emails they're using for the Mendeley library. So I might have discussed with those people, such a person that, oh, which emails are using for the Mendeley library, and I invite them into it. So that is about Mendeley. Then about the question, whether it gives you access to their library, it doesn't. For example, what about information on paper here in this place? It's not here unless I added it to collection. So if I want to add the paper under here, I have to come here, for example, click on the paper, click on organize, and then add to group. Then I click on this group, and then click add. Then when I come here to go, when I click on, I don't know. So when I click on this group, you can see the paper here. So you can see it's separate. Okay. So, but one thing is that if you want to share your libraries with them, you can just go to your all references, click on everything, click on organize. So I have about almost 1,000 papers here. Click on organize, and then add to group, and then I click here, okay, and it goes to the person. So, for example, someone needs all the papers I have, I can use that to send to the person. But the problem is that it won't send to the person, it won't send the categories that I put here. So the person has to take his own time categorizing.
To categorize.
But it allows you to probably have a colleague that you're collaborating with in Australia, for example. Rather than saying, oh, send me paper, you can just have a group together on Mendeley, and then you share papers together, or probably you are writing the paper together, and both of you are using Mendeley for citation, rather than you cite referencing and telling you that you can't find your reference, but the reference of the other person. But if both of you are citing from the same group, it will be streamlined. You won't be having issue of you citing the same paper twice, or having A, B, C of a paper of the same paper because of using different reference manager, what have you. So that is the main importance of it. So like this group I have, we have about 5 on it, and we are sharing papers that we're working on, a current project that we are working on, and that's basically how you can make use of Mendeley. Hope I've answered that question.
Yes, at least we now know that you have to share. That you have to share with the group. You won't have access directly to their reference. So another question here is, this person said, thank you for an insightful presentation. Earlier, you mentioned signing up for paper alerts and attending events. I'm signed up for Cooperative Network of Building Researchers News, which is how I found out about today's event. Can you recommend any other websites or organization where we can sign up for articles, conference, and workshop alerts? For context, I'm PhD student based in UK. So,
yeah. Okay, I'll put that. Oh, I'm coming. Let me put. So, like I put in the chat now, you can see Google Scholar. About Google Scholar Alert.
Okay, Google Scholar Alerts, Web of Science. Okay, Mendeley.
You must have a profile in Google Scholar, and then you can it's a two-way. You can get alert about an author. If probably an author publish a new paper, you want to be the first to know. You can subscribe to that. Then also Web of Science Alert. You can go to their website and get that. Mendeley also do that. The same thing with ResearchGate as well.
Thank you for that.
Does that as well. Science Direct. With that, I get information about new papers and further my research. So that's not relevant to your area. Those that are relevant, just try to log in. So hope I've answered that.
Okay. So thank you, sir, for that. So another here is I know you might impact journals are just I sent back and said some terms used and not international. Let me make reference to touch doing a research touch and what is or something like this. My colleague I advise such person to write out sites, places where tax material as building materials and all that. But at the end of the day, that was the basis for the projection. So how do we manage such bias? This person was section of traditional material. Obviously, that's what she was more content. You just say suggest send I should really wanted to cite such bias. How do we manage such?
I can't hear the beginning of the question. It's breaking.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to say that one of my colleagues was researching on the use of thatch material, not thatch material.
Okay.
And then she
Okay.
Linda, could you just help read some of the questions on the chat?
Okay.
Yes, she's having issues with her network.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption. We'll just take other questions before she comes up with. Okay.
Yeah, somebody was talking about hypotheses and research questions.
Okay. Can you read it, Ma, if you know where it is? Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I was saying research questions or hypotheses. I guess he wants to know the difference or which is suitable.
Okay.
Research question, hypothesis, you can use both. It depends, depending on what you are trying to solve. For example, maybe using a research question for a particular problem statement, and maybe using hypothesis that you want to test for a particular question. So both of it can appear in a single paper, but you must be clear on what you are using it for, which problem statement or what it's trying to solve. And that should be clear in your methodology that, okay, this methodology is, you are using this methodology to test this methodology, this part of the question or part of the problem statement. And then also it should be evident in your findings as well. So it's not, I would say there's a blur line in paper. So either way, and what about not all questions, not all papers, or not all research, you have a research question, or you can frame it in the form of objective. And you can frame it in form of just aim. So, but whatever you are trying to use, ensure that you don't just state research hypothesis, and then later on your findings, like the paper I reviewed maybe last year, which unfortunately I rejected. But the president talked about hypothesis 1, 2, 3, and in the findings, I can't see how the hypothesis was opposed or agreed upon. What have you? No, there's no information about it. So if all those hypotheses, be very careful on the method you are using. You can't use mean to test hypothesis. So you must be clear on the method you want to use, and let be revealed in your findings and your conclusion. So you can use that method, you can use both. I've seen it a lot. Reviewers are not, what about reviewers and editors? They are not, they are not forcing a method on you. But they want to see whether the method you are using are appropriate and justifiable within the context. They are not saying you must use this method or that method, but it can be appropriate. So either way, just ensure that you use the right method.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes, it does.
okay, back to the question I was trying to ask all the time. This has to do with refusal and writing the detail. For instance, I had a colleague that was investigating transitional tax, tax materials as traditional, doing something like that. And then the response for the tutorial was attached. Like tax, normal tax, maybe normal tax that is not a traditional word, it's not an international word, it's an African word. Like that, something related. Baseline, I feel it's just a journal bias towards, and I
basically felt the right giving where it has been used in the literature. But in such cases, at the end of the day, we publish that work in that journal platform to find impact. We have to take it somewhere else. But in such cases, what do you suggest? When we write a book house explaining this site has been put on this event has been used and stuff like that. I think that's the question. Responding some of the bias of
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's part of the thing I mentioned earlier on, that editors, they have their own bias, some unconsciously and some intentionally. So, but there's nothing we can do. But one thing you can do to avoid such is if you have somebody in another country, let's say in Europe, in Australia, in America, you can collaborate with such a person. So now be a study between Nigeria and Australia, and then you conduct the same contents, and then you compare results. So you have to avoid that issue of, oh, it's not relevant, it's not a wide application beyond Nigeria. You understand? And then another way we can do it is you, as I said, flowing with the trend. For example, you apply a technology to your research, and let's say technology have not been used even in developed countries like the UK or what have you, and then you show them how it can be used. That other countries, developed countries, and you can also use it, for their own system. So that you need to bridge the barrier of, okay, it's only within country, it's only within Nigeria, or it's only between Africa, or what have you. That even what I did here, or the tool I use, the method I use, is so novel that has not been used in the built environment before. That it can also be used in other papers, other research in other countries that can improve their state of their research or the state of their innovation. So is that use collaboration, or you do something new, and then show the application in even all this UK or what have you. So these are the two ways, you can bring that sentiment. Yeah, so those are the two ways you can bring that sentiment. So unless the editor is so biased, that's where you now get your paper on that basis. So unless that's so biased. But if we get to the other journals that you get this perfectly published in. So I hope I answered that question.
I think you did. I think you answered the question. She's offline again. Okay, so do we have other questions? Thank you.
Yes, just a quick one. Sir, how do we handle inexperienced reviewers? At times you get a review and you just know that this reviewer still needs to grow. How do you manage that? In terms of the things, some of the suggestions the person is giving, this guy. So what do you do?
Yeah, I've had a student before. That was for the review paper about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. If I was telling that I should do start, I told you that I use scientific analysis. And I told him that I should collect data, I should analyze, I should use statistical tools. I was like, so I was baffled. I was like, does this person know about review? I went from quantitative research, went from quantitative. So what I did was to school the reviewer politely. How to school the reviewer politely. In the comment, I told the reviewer that this my work is different from a quantitative research, and that this my work is similar to so work, and this is the work they did. They know there's no quantitative analysis, and this paper was published in a high impact journal. I put the name of the journal there, and I told the editor I told the reviewer that for this type of research or this type of method, this is what is needed. After I put it in my response to the reviewer, then I put it in my call letter to the editor that just so viewer made this comment. I quoted the comment, then I repeated my response to that reviewer in my response to the editor. And the paper was published. So don't just what about the viewer's comment? They're not bound to accept. But so as much as possible to at least respond and made the result of it. But if that will get everything, and the editor will like you don't want to cooperate. But if you just want 2 or 3, then there's not any problem. So don't just accept a work or do a work that will spoil your work, because you know the work better than the person reviewing it in most cases. Because most reviewers, in most cases, they may not be an expert. May not be an expert in it. Probably the editors have tried sending it out and out, and those reviewers are busy. And I'll be getting. Personally, I've rejected more than 10 reviews in the past 1 or 2 weeks. So an editor is called frustrated. You send it to somebody, probably the person is a PhD student or someone in the industry. It's not like, and but just to show that I'm there, or just to get more feedbacks, more review from the editor. We want to write something down. Like I was reading a comment on Twitter. So people are talking about reviewer 2. That reviewer 2 they are the most non-knowledgeable about the paper. You can go on Twitter and type and slash it. You know that it's always reviewer 2 that always write something that's totally out of line. Because at most instances, they are always at like the second trial or third trial or fourth trial after the editors have tried people to come and review the work. So don't just allow the person for your work, because it will always be your work. If there's any feedback or problem with the work, maybe a retraction or what have you, you won't mention the name of the reviewer, you mention the name of the authors. So you must always own your work. So that is the basics.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think there's a comment on the chat. Please, can you share with us the site to become volunteer reviewers?
Yeah, I think I shared the other time. Let me share it again. My screen. So coming this. This Elsevier Hub, you can make use of it for Elsevier journals. So this the Elsevier Hub. You have to fill in your. You can see there volunteer to review. You have to fill in your OCID, your OCID, and then here. So, for example, I'm only volunteering for 1 journal. But the other, I will be for about maybe 49 or 50 journals. I can't remember now. Either 49 or 50. I think I've added one recently. But it's only one that I volunteer for. Others are basically because of my published work there. Yes, you can become a reviewer for where you're not published on. For example, I'm reviewing for about 49 or 50 journals. But I've not published in half of them. I have not published in half of them. So that is it. So like here, you for example, let's say we want to do for building engineering. Come here. I'm already a reviewer there, so I don't have to click on. I don't have to click there. So and it has reward. You have access to Science Direct Scopus from each review you did. So these are my recent review for Slavia that I've completed. Until you complete it, they not give you all this access. So these are the papers I reviewed recently on blockchain, BIM. So give me access to all this to their website. So I can add more days to it, for example, if I want. Like that. You have certificates. For example, journals I've reviewed for society, production, build engineering, calculate reports, and so on and so forth. So currently I've reviewed for more than 49 journals. So you don't have to be you don't have to publish there before you have before you become a reviewer there. Some journals is after I become a reviewer before I publish there, and some have not until now published there, and I've reviewed for them several times. But one thing is that they want to see that you are published in that area related to what they want. Probably if you want to publish in, you want to review for Journal of Cleaner Production, they want information that you are published related to sustainability, circular economy, what have you. You want to say everything that you have published there before. So that means your OCID, like for example, if you want for your profile here, you must put information about your OCID and Web of Science information there. You can also include more. So they will check it, and then they now invite you. So as I've showed you here, I only volunteer for one out of those 50. And the editor check my profile, and then they start inviting. I think I've reviewed for them about 5 or so. I still have one review that is still pending, or 2 for October. So these are ways for you to, and it really helps a lot. It helps you to know how people are publishing, what they're publishing, and how they are writing their work. And even get you to have a full knowledge of new methods in the field. So that is that about the question.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I think she still has maybe network issues.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can. Are there any questions? Any comments? Comments and questions?
No other question. No other question.
Oh, okay, so we'll move on to the next thing on the agenda. That will be appreciation, right?
Yes, an announcement.
Okay, is Dr. Ajayi around? I don't know if she's there. Okay, I'll just stand in for her. We really want to appreciate everyone for their time, particularly our guest speaker. Honestly, it takes a lot for a person of his caliber to find out time to stay with us on a working day. You know, when I was trying when we were trying to get him to speak with us, he said Tuesday is a working day. And then I realized that it takes a whole lot for someone to sacrifice. He has research students, he has lectures, he has all kinds, collaborators, but then he took out the time. You know, sir, we are grateful. We are thankful. All of this for free. We are really grateful. We have been enlightened. I mean, I didn't know it was going to go this route. I mean, showing us all kinds of things. I didn't know it was going to go this way. This is really rich, and we are thankful. Thanks so much, sir, and may good Lord continue to bless you and take you higher and higher. Also, for everyone that has stayed up to this time, we appreciate all our participants. You've always been there, you know, and without you, we won't have WAiC. So thank you for the support. And this is also testimony that we are doing some things. Thank you so much. We also thank everyone, all those working very closely with us. QS Esther, awesome, always there. Thank you so much, Marlinda. Thank you so much for the background work. And thank you, Dr. Oluwatosin. Unfortunately, we had some kind of issues with our network, but we appreciate the support. Thanks for the help. We'll quickly go to the announcement now before we round up. Yes, Onadi.
Thank you, Dr. Patience. Thank you for the appreciation. Please, just to add to the appreciation, I would like to appreciate one of the participants in person of Dr. Femi Balogun. He was with us right from the beginning, and I think he left just a while ago. Dr. Femi Balogun is a DG for NIQS Academy. So we really appreciate his presence. So also we had one of our professors, a professor from United States of America, is a colleague of mine. We went to Yaba Tech together. He was the one that he was actually making a point and trying to make a point, let the speaker make a point to distinguish between the hypothesis and the question. He was the one that made that comment. We appreciate him. He already told me that the timing is not all that convenient for him, but he will join. We appreciate him for joining. And I've told him we look forward to when he too will be one of our presenters. He's a professor in the United States of America. So straight away we go to the announcements. Firstly, we would like us to endeavor to make use of all the lessons from the webinar. All the webinars we've had, all the series, we want all our participants to please make use of these lessons to improve their writing skills. So we implore you to please, you listen, watch all the webinars and use them to improve on your writing skills. Secondly, we are reminded of the call for chapters in the edited book titled Women in Construction. Deadline for abstracts is October 2022. Full paper submission deadline is January 2023. Publication date will be June 2023. Full paper can also be submitted without first submitting an abstract. So if you have your full paper, you can just submit everything at a go. We would love to have your abstracts and your papers published in the forthcoming Women in Construction journal. Thank you for that. And thirdly, we will want all our participants to visit our YouTube channel. Please visit our YouTube channel and like it. Women Academics in Construction. Visit our YouTube channel and like it, please. Thank you. And fourthly, on our announcements list is that next month's webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, 25th of October, 2022. Details of the webinar will be communicated subsequently. And once again, we thank you all for attending this webinar. We implore you to follow us up, as we have said on our YouTube, like us, and then stay tuned for the details of next month's webinar. Bear in mind, it is 25th of October, the last Tuesday of every month. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you so much. So on this note, I don't know if there's any comments, else we would shut down. Any comments? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Wishing you the best in your endeavors. Thank you, Dr. Olawumi. We are grateful. Thanks to everyone again. And see you next month. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, our resource person, Dr. Timothy Olaun. God bless you. Dr. Babalola, thank you. I think the network
thanks.
is back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bless you.
Dr. Patience, thank you so much.
Thanks for standing by always.
God bless you. Thank you for
Linda.
being there. Sister Linda,
Thanks.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You are wonderful.
Thank you, man.
And regards to everyone over there.
Yeah.
The crew behind the screen.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.